Hey, you. You're finally awake.
It had been a brutal, relentless day, and the damn tragedy was that it was only just starting. The campaign was on its 40th day. What had started weeks ago as a bitter, muddy stalemate was finally beginning to swing, and this time we were on the receiving end of the beating stick. St. Truden, Neufchâteau, Zundert, they all felt like a mild warm-up for the slog that was about to break loose. Today's objective was Thionville. By the end of this longest day, I would be dragged as far north as Gille and hauled all the way south to Verny. But the bleeding all started in Thionville. Thionville was a completely different beast compared to the towns I had fought over before. The entire city is cut cleanly in two by the massive River Moselle, with nothing but a single bridge connecting the sectors. When my boots finally hit the cobblestones, our pioneer squads had already done some work, capturing the two northernmost depots on each side of the bank, setting us up for what should have been a flawless success. I rushed south toward the nearest objective, the Thionville-Evrange depot, and immediately began digging in to secure it. But in this war, it's always one step forward, one step back. Just as we started raising our flag, the enemy managed to overrun our other position. This was where I linked up with Sapura 9-4 and tried 5-6-7. The three of us did everything humanly possible to hold the line. But slowly, surely, the sheer weight of the Allied advance locked the depot down and choked us out. Realizing that running blindly down that main road was pure madness, I shifted focus and broke away to help defend the main army base. It was absolutely vital to keep our momentum going. If we lost that central spawn point, the entire offensive would collapse. But the approach was a nightmare. The Allies knew the value of that dirt just as well as we did, and they were doing a terrifyingly good job of locking down the bunker. Somehow, through a miracle of lead and luck, I managed to slip inside the concrete walls. Me, Rika 1, RespawnTax, and Unfurer took up defensive positions at the top of the stairs and waited. We repelled the first few waves. And the Allies started raining fragmentation grenades through the openings. After a few deafening blasts, their infantry breached the threshold. That was the last I ever saw of the bunker's second floor this time around. Leading out right there on the concrete stairway, our first desperate attempt at Thionville came to a bloody end as the army base slipped from our grasp. With our momentum shattered, we were thrown right back on the defensive, scrambling to guess where the Allies would show up next. To minimize the enemy's options along the front, RespawnTax, or RespawnTaxi as I sired him that day, started up his signature Firebase Destruction Uber Service. A machine-like efficiency took over our squad. He'd ferry people right to the edge of the enemy perimeter, we'd leap out, plant the high-explosive satchel charges, blow the firebase to hell, and scramble back into the vehicle to be ferried to the next one. Rinse and repeat. Again. And again. And again throughout that day. I guess in the end, it's not always about the journey. It's about the crazed people you meet along the way.
Must have all of access here.
Then came Verny, a small, deceptively quiet Dutch town. Even Pepe was long gone. The only things left in that sleepy village were us, our defensive perimeters, and a massive onslaught of allies marching straight toward us. I hauled my gear into the West Depot to hold the flank, while Cossack rode out into the western fields to hunt down the enemy's forward mobile spawn. It was the right tactical call. Before I even knew what was happening, the woods came alive. Allied infantry came pouring out of the tree line. Throwing smoke and methodically destroying the automated AI positions. The next thing I saw through the haze was a French Panhard armored car tearing full speed into the center of town, likely driving like a madman to avoid Cossack's wrath. With no heavy ordnance on me, my best option was to frantically repair a damaged anti-tank gun nearby and pray the automated crew would wake up and destroy the Panhard for me. It quickly devolved into a Morven long-distance firefight. All I could do was crouch behind the sandbags and try to keep them out of the perimeter for as long as possible. It wasn't long at all. I knew by the shifting gunfire that enemy scouts had already managed to sneak past our lines. The job now was to hold the depots. I was entirely right about them infiltrating the town. I just wasn't particularly good at handling it. After getting unceremoniously mowed down by an Allied submachine gun, I stumbled out of the barracks, only for the Allied Air Force to try and personally snipe me with a carpet bombing run. You know, even for an old game, sometimes it is beautiful. Despite the chaos, the enemy had still only managed to secure one of our depots. I rushed to take defensive position in the army base bunker. From that vantage point, I watched Badgnus holding down the northern route alongside Cossack. But the enemy was creeping further into the veins of the town. Suddenly, the map turned against us. They were holding 3 depots. Right then, Command ordered us to go on a massive, desperate counteroffensive. The brass figured that if we attacked, it would force the enemy to abandon their assault on Verny. We were ordered to turn around and take on Thionville again. Crossing my fingers and praying the generals knew what they were doing, I packed my gear and relocated back to the river Moselle. When we arrived, the situation was worse than the first time around. This time, our faction held nothing but a single, isolated center depot on the west side of the river. I took stock of the disaster and pushed north. We desperately needed to lock down the western flank. I met up with Sepura 94 inside the Evrange depot. After a few minutes, the depot was ours. Thankfully, the Allies still seemed to be heavily distracted trying to finish off Verny to the south. We seized our window of opportunity and broke into a dead sprint toward the North Army base. It looked completely undefended, or so we thought. We had almost finished securing the base when we were unceremoniously cut down. Not only did we lose our gamble on the army base, but the enemy capitalized on our deaths and recaptured the Evrange depot. I pulled back and threw all my focus toward the south. In hindsight, that might have been the exact wrong move. I linked up with Griddle at the city depot. But our luck evaporated fast. What followed was a miserable series of unfortunate events across every single street corner. Everything I tried to do, every corner I turned, the Allies had a perfect, brutal answer for it. At one point, I think I just had a literal heart attack from the sheer stress and dropped dead. To this day, I still can't see where that bullet even came from. It wasn't until my personal hero, RespawnTax, arrived to bail me out, I actually managed to survive an infantry encounter. But again, that luck was short-lived. A few moments later, both of our lives ended right inside the exact same pile of bodies we had just helped create. We forced a quick deployment at the barracks, desperate not to lose the depot. It didn't take me long to find my way back, but the Allies had already locked that depot down tight, and within minutes, they officially captured it. Luckily, our boys on the other side of town had managed to capture the North Army base in the meantime. But even that victory was hollow. The second I opened my eyes at the base, the radio crackled. The Allies already had men inside the central bunker. I had exactly one shot to clear it out. I met JW at the bottom of the bunker stairs. We gritted our teeth and we made our move. It was all for nothing. We were cut down on the steps, and with that failure, our chance to hold the line at Thionville vanished. The Allies had thrown us out again. While we waited at the staging area for a new mobilization order, we managed to vent some frustration by blowing up an enemy firebase and swatting a plane out of the sky. By the time we got back to the main front, our brigade had somehow established another fresh foothold in Thionville. Is the third time a charm? I deployed into the sector, and the usual suspects were all there waiting. We had a solid perimeter in the northwest of the city, but the Allies were dug in and ready for us. Even with some incredibly solid teamwork, we just couldn't crack their defenses. Every single time we pushed north, they seemed to have a perfect answer waiting for us. Even after we lost our spawn depot and the sky fell in, I made a last-ditch, desperate attempt to drive out and set up a forward mobile spawn. While driving that vehicle through the terrain, I couldn't help but look out the window and marvel at the sheer, colossal size of this game, and just how much massive communal planning is required to achieve even the smallest victory out here. Oh, look at that. They were perfectly ready for that spawn truck, too. After one last Firebase demolition run with RespawnTax, the radio suddenly lit up with urgent words of an upcoming, massive Allied attack on Gear.
Good job.
We packed our kits and moved out to reinforce the sector. But that will have to be a story for another day. These bloody events have officially set the stage for the upcoming Operation Reaper. How will the Axis hold up in the coming storm? Will the men find the strength to punch back? Or are the Allies simply too strong to break at the moment?